Guys, welcome to the Drone Camps channel. Welcome to the front lines of FPV for the last 11 years on YouTube, the original drone channel. Today we are live streaming from Washington, D.C. The president is signing some executive orders, and we're looking in to see if they're going to sign the executive order that may ban the sales of Chinese drones, as well as DJI and Alto. So we're gonna tune in very shortly to the Oval Office and find out what exactly is going on and if this executive order is actually going to be signed today, according to the Washington Post. We're going to see if that was just total clickbait, but we are going to give you full coverage today and kind of really follow this as it's happening live. So far this morning, they have been signing orders on nuclear. So right now, we don't have news or information that they did do any executive orders solely based on Chinese drone electronics and drone equipment sales for U.S. customers. And right now, they do have a press conference happening with all the news media, Pete Hegseth, and quite a few congressmen and companies that are from the nuclear sector. It looks like they may be wrapping it up. So if they are indeed wrapping it up, that'll be great. If we don't have any executive orders today changing the drone industry, the hobby industry as we know it. Let's go ahead and listen in for some of the tail end of this live stream. And if they don't sign it today, who knows when they will sign it, but we will keep you in the know. So let's go ahead and listen in.
Providers, but also a big change. This is a time when capital and competition has finally come to this industry. We've got venture capital, we've got startups coming into all aspects of small modular nuclear, and we've also got an EO that's talking about the importance of us having a secure supply chain of being able to get that fuel load here in the United States as opposed from foreign sources. This has impacts on national security, on our defense, and again, President Trump here today has committed to energy dominance. And part of that energy dominance is that we've got enough electricity to win the AI arms race with China. What we do in the next 5 years related to electricity is going to determine the next 50, because this is the first time in history where electricity can be translated into intelligence. And we need that intelligence for every aspect of our economy, but also for defense. Pete Hegseth in the Department of Defense has been a key part of this, and this is going to help us make sure that we're providing the defense we need, where we need that AI, need the electricity, but also to secure our bases here at home and around the world. Secretary?
Sure, I'll just add to that before going to Will. Energy security is national security. If we don't have reliable energy for our basing, for our troops, whether forward deployed or domestically, we're vulnerable. So by having small modular nuclear capabilities, which are rapidly being fielded, that we can use on our bases here and around the world, we're creating an environment where if things happen elsewhere, the military can be relied upon. Also, we're including artificial intelligence into everything we do. If we don't, we're not fast enough. We're not keeping up with adversaries. You need the energy to fuel it. Nuclear is a huge part of that, modular or otherwise. So we're going to have the lights on and AI operating when others do not, faster than everybody else because of nuclear capability. So this is a big game changer for us as well.
And we're also talking about the big plants, the very, very big, the biggest. We're going to be doing them also, but we're going to start off a little bit. I think the focus today is the smaller module, but included in this group, we're also doing big plants where needed. They won't be needed too much, but they'll literally be able to do it in an entire state. And you've read a lot about cost overruns in a couple of states that were pretty significant, but we're not going to have cost overruns. And the technology's come a long way, both in safety and cost and everything else. Would a couple of you guys like to talk about your companies and You want to say anything?
Joe, why don't you kick it off?
Sure. My name's Joe Dominguez. I run Constellation Energy. We have about 25% of the nation's fleet. We're the largest publicly traded nuclear company in the world. We're in the middle of a merger with Calpine, and once completed, we will be the largest electric producing company in the world.
So I'm going to go ahead and cut in here. So what we have right now is a lot of the nuclear companies are here representing some of the largest corporations in the nuclear sector, and mostly the focus this morning is on nuclear energy for AI specifically, and being able to power our AI resources. Very important in the future of the country. Being a world dominance of AI technology is whoever's on top of that is going to probably be the superpower. So there's a big fight right now for AI dominance, and nuclear is one of the ways we're going to be able to afford those luxuries. But we have all the top companies there, and they're just going over that. Pete Hegseth is chiming in as well, making sure that he's representing the armed forces and the support there. We did have Trump's cell phones going off a couple times during this meeting. Seems he was getting some text messages from certain congressmen. But we haven't heard any news so far about the executive order to ban Chinese drones. So all of your tiny whoops at this point are safe. You can continue buying them at this point, flying them, and maintaining them. If we did get something to occur that was an all-out ban for, say, DJI 04 air units, we have not heard anything about DJI. Just going to run up through some of your comments real quick and see if you guys have anything intelligent to say today to add to this live stream. Tigon Jufara, man, I have some problems with some of these screen names. Says we do have to come out to the fact that the world is entering a stage. It's setting up this warlike stage, which reminds me of the Cold War era. Yeah, I would say it's similar to the Cold War. Yeah, maybe a sliver of what the Cold War was, but this is a completely different deal with new technologies. So I've been kind of listening in on some of the chatter that's happening from some of the nuclear companies, but so far, again, we're not hearing anything so far that's giving us any inkling that they're going to sign the executive order today about DJI specifically and Altel. DJI has made a statement since this news has come out, and I'd like to show you guys that now. I'm just going to switch the screen over to the Drone DJ page here, and DJI is welcoming the drone ban because what it's going to happen is it's going to speed up the DoD investigation into the possibility of DJI drones and systems for espionage on our soil. And typically it was going to be a 12-month period for the testing and kind of evidence by DoD that DJI is a national security threat. So we see that DJI is still claiming they have no sensitive data being sent back from U.S. mainland to PRC. That is their stance still. And it says that DJI welcomes and embraces any opportunities to demonstrate our privacy controls and security features. So they do have quite a few features inside the DJI app, which will actually turn off any outside communication of the app. I'm not sure some of you guys have seen that before, but that is definitely a thing in the app now for at least a year. Welcome you guys to the live stream. We are following President Trump's signing of new executive orders, but this morning we've been hearing about nuclear executive orders, and we haven't specifically heard anything yet about any type of DJI, Chinese drone bans, or anything like that so far this morning. So good news to the drone community today. We can still order Chinese parts and components, and what I'm really interested to find out is that is this order, if it does cover DJI and Altel, how does that trickle down to the FPV companies providing flight controllers, VTXs, and cameras and other parts and components? Will our plug and play drones be affected? Will bind and fly be affected? The original FY25 from late last year signed in this year, it does state some things in that talk about components. Any component that emits a signal. So we do have another executive order being signed right now, and it has another implication for the nuclear sector currently. So we still don't see anything related to drones. So good news, guys. Keep your thumbs crossed, your fingers crossed. Thumbs, fingers, toes, whatever you got. A lot of nuclear power executive orders this morning. Right now, the DJI Goggles 3 are $4.99 if you can find them. But currently in the DJI store, they won't allow U.S. customers to buy them, unfortunately. So as of now, finding a pair of Goggles 3 is almost impossible. And let's just pull up this live stream just to be sure that nothing slides through here. There are a ton of people here from the nuclear sector, but we haven't seen any evidence of any drone companies there. Skydio doesn't appear to be in the room, nor any other drone companies. So let's go ahead and let's listen in again.
There you go.
This next executive order relates to nuclear reactor testing, sir. The degree of overregulation.
Okay, this seems to still be some nuclear executive orders.
Had the effect of throttling development of new, highly modernized nuclear reactors that could really revolutionize the field of nuclear power generation. So this executive order, it orders a revised regulatory process to speed this whole process while preserving, obviously, core safety concerns. It also creates a new pilot program with an expectation that we will have 3 new experimental reactors online by July 4th next year.
It's amazing. That's exciting. Okay, come on.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order on reinvigorating the nuclear industrial base. There are a number of core issues here, including the issue with fuel feedstock that one of the speakers mentioned before. This executive order, among other actions, includes an invocation of the Defense Production Act in order to spur a closer collaboration with private industry to ensure that we have the fuel supplies.
So again, they are still doing some nuclear executive orders, so we can open up the nuclear facilities in the U.S. Probably with a lot less restriction and regulations, so that we can get on with this AI thing. Mayo Monkey says no drone ban today. We hope not. We hope not, Mayo.
It's on a similar subject. This executive order is entitled Restoring Gold Standard Science. One of the issues that we've had in recent decades is that government policy has been made on the back of junk science. Scientific studies and findings that have included conflicts of interest or scientific misconduct.
And he said this order does not have to do with nuclear.
The executive order is to recenter policymaking around gold standard science, scientific efforts that have followed appropriate scientific methods that don't include those sorts of conflicts of interest, and to ensure that when departments and agencies are relying on scientific studies to promulgate rules, to promulgate regulations, that the science that they're relying on is highly reliable and available to the public.
He did a very good job, didn't he? He did. How many people here could have done that? I don't know. I think a lot. Thanks. Good job, Will.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And that one didn't appear to be anything about the drone ban.
Do you have any questions for these brilliant people? They are brilliant people, actually.
Question for you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, on nuclear, sir, a lot of the concern over the years that's held the nuclear industry back has been about safety. Are you satisfied with those safety concerns?
Yeah, we are. It's become very safe. Actually, it's become very safe, and tremendous work's been done on that, more than anything else. And it's really the automatic shutoffs. There's so many different things that they have now that they would have never had. You know, my uncle was a great nuclear person years ago, and that was a different, if you would have asked that question, probably it would have been.
So they're still talking about nuclear. I don't know if you guys have heard about these nuclear batteries before, but apparently there is a small-scale nuclear battery that they're working on that can essentially, when they get this type of technology underway, it could run a drone for 100 years. And that battery would be about the size of a button battery. Currently, the testing on this battery, it doesn't have enough amps, volts to be able to power any type of FPV drone. So that won't be, yeah, that won't be happening anytime soon. But wouldn't that be cool? 1S nuclear battery. That would just, you would just need, 2 or 3 of those. Or you would need one. Yeah, you wouldn't even have to switch it out. You just use one. Just fly around your yard until you got bored, or you broke something. Chances are you're going to break something first. But they're still talking about nuclear right now, and so far this morning we have no talk of the Chinese drone ban. Pete Hegseth is there on the right-hand side of the screen, and I thought, well, we might have some of this Chinese drone talk this morning, but I haven't heard anyone talk about drones at all this morning. It's been totally about nuclear technology and support that nuclear will give AI in our infrastructure and our war programs. But I'll take a couple of those nuclear 1S batteries. Wouldn't it be nice to have a 6S 1300 nuclear battery? You just have one battery for your entire. It looks like bro. Somebody Olsen Life 5 says Olsen 5 Life says it looks like bro doesn't even read them. Right. He has been briefed on them previous to this meeting, so he does know what he's signing. And also, the word brief means that you're getting a summary of it. You're not getting probably the whole thing. So maybe there's things in there that he didn't see, which I'm sure has happened before in the Oval Office. I'm pretty sure they don't read the whole thing, that's for sure. We've got a lot of lawmakers that are passing things that are for sure in their own agendas. which has been pretty much the history of the United States. And we still don't have any talk about the Chinese drone ban. And right now they're still talking about nuclear, but they're also kind of moving into a little bit of talk about the tariffs, how we're not going to be taken advantage of. So far, good news this morning, you guys. No news is good news, but I wanted to be here for you just in case any of this goes down. It will be part of the channel history. 11 years of drones and FPV on this channel. Since the beginning of the FPV drone craze. When we first started doing DIY drone builds on this channel, we were getting parts and components individually from companies like GEP, RC, and iFlight. They were a one-office operation at the time, and they were just a little startup printing out. I remember when GEP RC first got started, and some of the frames that I first got from them, I got carbon fiber splinters in my fingers when I was working with those frames. And that was the early days before a lot of these carbon composites were ultra sealed with extra glue layers and beveled edges. I remember when beveled edges first started to come onto the scene. Beveled edges kind of made it onto the scene before a lot of the really nice 3K type of carbon fiber and T700 carbon fiber came out. But yeah, it used to be kind of hazardous just to handle a drone frame. But we have come a long ways in the FPV drone industry, and it's sad to see that we've come to a direction where they can be used as a weapon of war. But it's not something that I didn't see coming 11, 12 years ago. As soon as I saw one lift off of an RC airfield, it was a bunch of helicopter guys up in Virginia Beach, and there was this guy, and this might have been back in 2010 or so. And he pushed a button on his laptop, and this drone came up off the ground and hovered. And he didn't have a radio or anything, so it was just his laptop and a drone. And that was what got me hooked on these. And I recently found a video that back in those days, I was using single rotor helicopters and building gimbals with single rotor T-Rex 600 and 700 helicopters with very old school 1.3 gigahertz FPV systems on there, and I was making videos for events back in those days, filming events and then handing over the footage to the event coordinators. And it was all done by non-stabilized RC helis, so it was all of the skill that you were seeing, even the worst video back in those days, were still very much to do with your head speed on your heli and the pilot skill, how smooth you can fly. Trump's phone keeps going off. Another congressman. Over and over, this phone keeps going off. So somebody said in the chat that not necessarily good news because they will be banned by default if security risk investigation isn't done by the end of this year. So, yeah, if they don't get around to it, DJI will be on the chopping block. Now, the question is, will the rest of our parts and components be on the chopping block as well? If that's the case, then we're going to have to find out a quick alternative to getting you guys a bind and fly or a plug and play drone. I do know that we'll still have access to the frames. So you can still build up your own frames. You just have to find some NDAA flight controllers, ESCs, camera. Currently, I don't know of a VTX that's being made, but I am talking to a company to find out if they are going to make one pretty soon. And I also know that there is a company that's going to make an ELRS radio in the US. That is coming. So there will be an ELRS, a US made radio. Take my money. Gusto FPV says, "Don't take my drones." They're not going to take your drones. So now he's talking about Harvard. Oh God, I'm going down the rabbit hole.
Harvard, why are they there? And then you see those same people picketing and screaming at the United States and screaming at, they're anti-Semitic or they're something. We don't want troublemakers here. But how do people that can't, when Harvard comes out with a statement that they're going to teach some of their students remedial math, that's basic math, that's not the deal. Okay, and anymore in the back.
Are there other countries you're considering shortening the 90-day pause on tariffs for? And then are there specific?
So when Jumbi asks, what is needed for equipment to get/be NDAA compliant, what's needed is somewhere around the majority of the components used on that particular electronic component being made in non-adversarial countries. So to be NDAA compliant, it doesn't all have to be made in the USA. It just has to be made primarily from non-adversarial countries. So it's, it doesn't have to be 100% American parts. So I do know that some of those parts can come from places like Taiwan. They can come from Malaysia, Singapore. Yeah. So to give you an idea, like let's talk about an NDAA set of ESCs that I know about, made by Rotor Riot, and I know that the chips come from a non-adversarial country on that particular ESC. So yeah, we've moved on through a lot of subjects this morning with President Trump, Pete Hegseth in the background there, and the nuclear companies, but we don't have any information so far about the executive order that the Washington Post so happily posted last week to basically infuriate the entire drone industry, as well as all the FPV guys. And they're still talking about the nuclear, following in on this executive order signing this morning. President Trump has those awesome phones with all the buttons on there. I really want one of those phones where I can just press a bunch of lines. I need one of those phones here on my desk. So, Observing Humanity says, why are people blaming Trump for the possibility of a ban? The whole issue started under the Biden administration when the NDAA was established by Congress and signed by Biden. So, right. You are correct. But so here's the thing. I don't think that I don't blame it on Trump. I know it's not specifically Trump, but right now, if you kind of pay attention to the agenda in Washington, I think there's a huge, like, one of the guys was talking about during this press conference this morning. They are talking about a reliable supply chain, and I think part of it is just making it a more non-adversarial supply chain currently. So that's a big part of it. So we have Pete Hegseth chiming in here.
Energy for our basing, for our troops, whether forward deployed or domestically, we're vulnerable. So by having small modular nuclear capabilities, which are rapidly being fielded, that we can use on our bases here and around the world, we're creating an environment where if things happen elsewhere, the military can be relied upon. Also, we're including artificial intelligence into everything we do. If we don't, we're not fast enough. We're not keeping up with adversaries. You need the energy to fuel it. Nuclear is a huge part of.
Now, some of you guys, you have to understand that, obviously there is some tension in Taiwan. There is the possibility of a looming war at any given moment. And one of the things you have to be aware of is that even though this is sort of a hobby sector, they are trying to like secure and cut off different supply chains. Uh, if there is the event of a war, I mean, obviously we're not going to be able to get our toys, but they don't want those toys to be used against us as well. So yeah, there's a whole big campaign to kind of slow down adversary supply chains. Obviously, it's a pretty public thing.
About 25% of the nation's fleet. We're the largest publicly traded nuclear company in the world. We're in the middle of a merger with Calpine, and once completed, we will be the largest electric producing company in the world. About enough power to produce, to cover all of Mexico, actually.
I think one of our biggest things with electric and nuclear, obviously, is going to be security. Having our grid security is super important, because that's one of the main things that a lot of people think that could happen first, is that they have these cyber attacks that could shut down the electric grid, mess with the water. There's all kinds of things that could happen there, and that would be instant bad news for our society. Aside from our toy drones, not being able to get water out of your tap would be a big problem. So no news this morning so far. No news is good news, hopefully. And I had no idea. I was looking all over the news for any small clue of what they would be signing this morning, and there was just no news on even if they were going to sign any executive orders this morning. I even went to several different AI platforms, and none of the AIs were giving me any inkling that on the internet search that there was any executive orders going to be signed this morning. That only the ones yesterday for the steel tariffs. But this morning is all about nuclear. So what do you guys think this means in the big picture? What's your gut feeling right now? Are we still going to be able to buy a Radio Master? There's the GX12 currently that I'm using, and the GX14 is coming out. Radio Master is about to release the GX14. I saw it this morning on Facebook. So that's pretty cool. 2 more channels. I don't know what else they're going to put into that radio, but it is a Gemini radio. If you're brand new to FPV, Gemini means that you can simultaneously run 2.4 and 915 at the same time, or 2.4 and 2.4 on two separate bands. So this is not just frequency. And people said when it first came out, oh, that's been around for 2 years. Beta FPV did it 2 years ago. No, they did frequency, dual frequency. There's a difference between dual frequency and dual band. If you're running dual band, that's huge. It's a lot different technology. It's a lot more reliable, and instantaneously switch between one band to the other should one band signal get low. So Gemini is great stuff for ELRS. Just gives you a redundancy and a little more reliability for your drone. But the GX14. So right now they're still going over nuclear, and they're talking about the great jobs that this is going to spawn.
Small reactors. I'm Jacob DeWitt, CEO, co-founder at Oklo, working on small next generation reactors that take technology America invented, developed, and pioneered and bringing it to the market after it sat on the shelves of history for about 40 years. And it's because of the actions that you're doing today that are going to help unleash that. Changing the permitting dynamics is going to help things move faster. We're seeing private investment flow into this space.
So iFish says big opportunity for the U.S. companies to reverse engineer DJI and make our own cheaper and better, and most of all secure. That would be really nice if they could do that, but yeah, I don't see them. I don't see anyone in the U.S. making it cheaper and better than DJI, because historically, no, unless I would love to be wrong. You're right. You're right. iFish. I should never say never. Um, and Christopher, we could both be wrong. I am very, very skeptical about any U.S. company outperforming DJI and Altel. I would like to see a U.S. company. Somebody asked me years ago, how much money would you need to create a drone better than DJI? And I said, probably $100 million to get started, because you need engineers that are from the top companies that would come over. It wouldn't be companies that it wouldn't be brand new guys coming onto the scene. It would have to be some really senior engineers to be able to make the things that DJI pulls off. We would almost need to recruit some of their guys, right? Like in World War II, when we stole a lot of the the Nazi scientists, we would need to steal some of DJI's engineers, make it lucrative enough for them to come over and work for us. Doug McFeeder says, long overdue. 100%. GoPro tried. iFish says Grok can do it. Maybe the one person and AI that could do it could be Elon Musk and AI. If Elon Musk and AI got together and their team, and they have the manufacturing power and the cash flow to be able to make those factories, to create those drones, that may work. Okay, we have another executive order coming up right now, and it looks like it's for it looks like another nuclear industry executive order that he's currently signing. FPV Addict says, put me in the factory. I'm game. Never say never. Yeah, iFish, I'm not even sure we would have to reverse engineer it, because with AI these days, you pretty much need an idea, and AI will give you an answer to an idea. So one of the biggest things about drones and AI right now is a lot of this is to do with just having the idea for a concept. So idea is still king at this point. Of course, some of the government AI can outthink and outsmart any of us here today with new ideas of their own. Some of the public AI is not that great with coming up with things. Currently, Grok is okay with coming up with ideas, but not sometimes not better than what I think of myself. A lot of times.
The Defense Production Act in order to spur a closer collaboration with private industry to ensure that we have the fuel supplies we need for a modernized nuclear energy sector. In addition to that, it includes crucial provisions relating to the development of a nuclear energy sector workforce and a number of other key building blocks to the overall nuclear industry that we're trying to spur here.
Thank you.
So today we see nuclear making a huge comeback in the U.S. This looks like they're opening the gates to nuclear production in the U.S.
Gold standard science. One of the issues that we've had in recent decades is that government policy has been made on the back of junk science.
So this is another executive order to do with nuclear and junk science.
Misconduct. The purpose of this executive order is to recenter policymaking around gold standard science, scientific efforts that have followed appropriate scientific methods that don't include those sorts of conflicts of interest, and to ensure that when departments and agencies are relying on scientific studies to promulgate rules, to promulgate regulations, that the science that they're relying on is highly reliable and available to the public.
He did a very good job, didn't he?
He did.
How many people here could have done that? I don't know. I think a lot.
So we went to a commercial in this live stream probably about 5 minutes ago, and I'm 100% certain that the executive order that he just signed was already repeated in this stream. So I think we've come to the end of possibly the end of this stream. I'm gonna have to, unless that was just like him saying the same exact words he was before.
It's become a very safe. Actually, it's become very safe, and tremendous work's been done on that more than anything else. And it's really the automatic shutoffs. There's so many different things that they have now that they would have never had. You know, my uncle was a great nuclear person years ago, and
So yeah, I think at this point this stream is on a loop, and that makes me think that for today, hopefully, we don't have any type of drastic changes that are going to affect the drone hobby. First and foremost, the drone hobby at the top level, and then FPV is really gaining on the typical drone market because of things like Ukraine, and the research and development going into FPV right now is unprecedented. So FPV hobby is kind of making gains on, as far as production wise, starting to make gains on the drone industry as a whole, but it's going to be some years that FPV catches up with, like the popularity of DJI type stuff. But that is a lot of industry focus right now is FPV. So good news, you guys. We don't have any executive orders as of Wednesday. So right now, everybody can take a deep breath. Yeah, I didn't see any auto pin this morning in DC this afternoon. Johnny D, welcome to the chat. Our government needs to worry about government stuff, not this shit fighting. What do you mean about? What do you mean? As far as the getting bipartisan on some things, less political fighting. You mean? Yeah, no executive order today, guys. On as far as at least in this stream, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens later this afternoon. See if anything snuck through there. If anything did, obviously I'll let you know. But yeah, I mean, I have a really cool review coming up on the channel. I just got a small, tiny little, I believe it's a 3-inch, a little 3-inch that has O4 on it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But before I do that, I wanted to come back and follow up with some information on. I know a lot of you guys are flying to start out. Some of you guys bought the Neo, right? And there is a big difference between, like, I had to revisit my Neo yesterday and fly it. I did end up having to buy an FPV3 transmitter to fly the Neo and the Avata 2, because no matter what I did to my FPV transmitter 2, I swear I thought I heard a while back that they were going to upgrade the firmware to allow it to work with the O4. Yes, true, but then it doesn't work with the receivers on the Neo and the Avata 2, unfortunately. So that was my original transmitter that I had for a couple years, but no matter what I did, it just wouldn't link up. So I had to fly that stupid motion controller. And now I know the motion controller is good for some things, but for full out manual flying, not what I want to be doing. So I want to have sticks with full manual, and I want to unlock the Neo's full potential by doing that, and really give you a good comparison of something like the Beta FPV Pavo 20 Pro versus the Neo, and the differences between the two, because yeah, most of you guys know that the differences are huge, but the Neo also has some really nice beginner type of flying elements to it versus something like a Pavo 20 Pro. Some of you guys, if you started out with a Pavo 20 Pro, you might trash it and break some stuff within the first 3 weeks for sure. 100%. You'll be fixing something. Whereas the Neo, I was flying it around the backyard yesterday. I think I crashed into the swing set pole, and it bounced. It flew into a tree. It hit another tree and then fell across the ground. And I didn't have the prop guard cover on the very top, the mesh cover. And I went to it and picked it up, and it was, I'm terrified every time I crash a DJI drone, just because they're so damn expensive and you have to send it back to who knows where to get it repaired if it does break. Uh, and I'm also under the impression that it's really going to be hard to get frame parts. Uh, so a lot of people like the Neo because of its simplicity. So, there is the crux of, should you buy something that's stupid simple that may teach you bad habits, or should you just buy something full manual? It's kind of like starting out riding a thoroughbred, or starting out riding a horse that barely walks. Are you going to be a better rider if you start out with a horse that has some, uh, some strength, or is that horse going to throw you off, and you're gonna you're gonna end your experience early? Yeah, my Neo did some pole dancing for sure. It smacked that pole pretty hard, and then did a nice little swing around it. Swung around the pole, hit another tree, and then hit the ground. It was a good crash, but I picked it up and it was absolutely fine. And then I crashed it a couple more times. And so one of the things that I was noticing yesterday, was that when I was flying it in one of the modes, and I think it was sport mode, it does this weird thing where I'm flying really fast through the backyard. I'm making some really nice lines, and then as I come around a really sharp corner, the flight controller on the DJI Neo does this really weird thing where it kind of hangs on an angle, and it's like, I'm going this way. But you're like, no, I need to go this way. And it's like, but no, I'm going this way. And it just keeps going that way, straight off the end of the line. It's like it gets stuck in one like direction. It's like, ah, and then that's what made me hit the freaking swing set, because it was like it was on that trajectory and it didn't want to get off, even though I was pulling the stick the other way, telling it, go this way, go this way. It was saying, no, I'm stuck on this direction, I'm going this way. And it's almost like it took it like, you know, a full second to realize, oh, the stick is going the opposite way, so now I'm going to go that way. But about the time that it caught up with my fingers, it was already crashed into the swing set and 2 trees. But I saw it like at the last minute, like, oh, I'm gonna change direction. Piece of shit. So that is one thing about the Neo that's not super great. You know, so I mean, that's not good. We don't need that. Johnny D, following up with you. So guys, if you don't know, Johnny D had purchased some Goggles 3 on a bad link on the internet, and his card got charged, and now yeah, he's out of that money. Did you pay $4.99 on your card for those goggles or more? You got to watch out for. There's a lot of fake links out there right now, and I think those fake links are going to get even more intense. Never buy any FPV anything from a link on Facebook, for sure. But what you have to do is, if you have a fraudulent charge on your credit card, you need to make sure that you call your bank and do a chargeback. Immediately call them and do a chargeback for a fraudulent charge. Johnny D says AliExpress. Yeah, I would still call my call your bank directly and do a chargeback if they don't refund your money within 24 hours. I'll usually give these companies 24 hours before I'll do a chargeback. But great news, no executive orders this morning so far. I will be refreshing all of the drone news pages and crawling the internet to make sure if none of this slides through today without us knowing. Maybe they're going to do this behind closed doors. We'll have to find out. But yeah, we also had some pretty bold and amazing footage come out yesterday out of Russia, where we had Ukrainian drones were taking out Russian bombers. Very, very bold operation from Ukraine. And you can see the there is a clear failsafe happening because the line of sight from that drone is probably not very good. But these bombers are almost irreplaceable. They're a tremendous amount of money to produce, and it takes time and a lot of manpower. The hard thing about a bomber is that a bomber is really hard to hide. If the bomber's outside, it's pretty easy to see it with any type of drone from the air, from a pretty long distance. It's like they have a bunch of tires on top of these. I'm not sure what the tires are for. Does anybody know? But man, look at this. Can you imagine flying through smoke and fire? Wow, some crazy footage. This is new video footage that came out today that was released. So these drones don't appear to have beta flight on them. It appears to be running something else, and it almost looks like it's what's this? It could be ArduPilot. They're using some flight degrees in the center. Not sure why they have all that OSD up there. A lot of times I don't use that type of OSD. It just adds extra stuff on the screen I don't need to be seeing. So I need to be seeing where I'm going. And if you look at the bottom right, it says altitude hold. For some reason, some of them have altitude hold mode on. Operation Spiderweb.
And a related question, Nick, very significant development. I'm now told that the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is not attending a critically important NATO summit meeting on aid, military aid to Ukraine in Brussels right now. This is the first time in, 3 years that a U.S. Defense Secretary has decided to avoid this kind of NATO-allied meeting. What's the significance of this?
Yeah, Lloyd Austin, the last Defense Secretary, was right at the forefront chairing so many of those meetings in the past. And this has been noted, and people are asking this question. They asked this question of NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte this morning, and he tried to pass over.
Now, I kind of wonder, yeah, somebody said in the chat that they have fiber optics, Johnny D. It's hard to tell if they used fiber optic on these or not, because they were flying from the top of a tractor trailer, and they had a whole bunch of them coming out the top of this tractor trailer. So I don't know that they probably used fiber optic in this particular operation. It looks like they might have used probably the standard radio signal, is my guess. Brandon D. So yeah, CNN and MSNBC, Fox News, everybody's all over this for the last 24 hours, and it was quite a bold operation. I definitely not see this coming, and my first thought was, man, it's hard to hide bombers, but something like that could happen anywhere, you know. So being on the ready is super critical these days, because something you could buy off Amazon could do that. So we have to have the best counter drone technology in our borders for sure to be able to stop something like that, and just be ready at any time. Like 511 says, always be ready. You got something like that many millions of dollars parked on an airport runway on the tarmac. You better have some kind of security on that shit 24/7. I mean, someone could even just hop over the fence and let the air out of the tires at the minimum. John chimed in and said that apparently they're not allowed to hide the bombers because of a nuclear treaty. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Wow, that video is crazy. So, you know, I've been flying FPV for over 11 years. Technically, I've been flying FPV systems since 2010, starting out with single rotor helicopters, and I was getting into aerial photography as a business back then, in creating aerial videos because really no one else was doing it outside. There was some companies, a few companies in Hollywood doing it with single rotors, 600 size helicopters and 700. But man, some of the craziest video I've ever seen. And there's this one clip where the drone is flying towards one of the planes, and it as it's flying, an explosion goes off. I mean, and if you're an FPV guy, this is pretty wild. Like you know, flying through gaps is so much fun. You're flying through tree gaps and things like that, but I would never in a million years think about making a fire gap because this explosion came up over the drone that was flying by. So the drone in front of it exploded, and then the second pilot came flying through the smoke and the mushroom cloud. And as you're passing all that fire, it kind of made me wonder, like, did it make it through? Did the components not melt when that huge ass fireball came up? I mean, literally within like it looked like within like 50 feet, and that intense amount of fire and heat coming off the top of that mushroom cloud must have melted some of the things on that drone. If it had some 3D printed exterior on that one, holy crap. But that's a one-way drone. So he's obviously the pilot's not too worried about it, but he was trying to make his objective. Um, but man, that was some crazy footage. Flying through a fireball. I don't know if they have that footage here on CNN, but some of you guys might have seen what I'm talking about. That was pretty crazy. And so they keep showing this footage right here. It looks like they're coming up to the left-hand side wing and very slowly landing. It doesn't look like they were flying very fast at all. And this is a different type of flying that we've seen than some of the high, super fast flying, like we've seen them flying into the back of trucks and things, driving down the road in Ukraine in the middle of that war. This is very slow and controlled flying. I used to put a Kodak camera on the bottom of my fixed wing. Johnny D, you and me both, buddy. I used to one of the first aerial videos I ever made. I actually took a Sony CyberShot from the early 2000s. You guys might remember those little snap digital cameras. I used some duct tape, and I duct taped it on the top of my my RC airplane that was a nitro at the time. And where I grew up flying was Federal Park Service property. The park rangers used to sit in the winter and watch me because they were bored. And here's a kid flying an RC airplane. It's not a threat to national security. And so yeah, I flew it around and filmed some national park beaches and stuff like that. I made some early videos with this nitro plane, just line of sight, a Sony CyberShot duct tape to the top. Sometimes got covered in a little bit of nitro gas. Yeah, that's some pretty crazy video. And these are supposed to be some new angles on these videos. I think it was pretty close into Moscow. Then they had the whole bridge thing happen there. There's a lot going on. But this channel is all about it's all about the hobby side of having fun, right? Like, I like to follow the news and stay up with the latest news and all the happenings, and it's kind of wild and crazy to see, like, our our little toy drones being weaponized and destroying millions and millions of dollars worth of military equipment. It still surprises me to this day that something that could cost $150 could destroy millions of dollars worth of stuff. It's just like, isn't that ironic? Like, a toy could do that much damage, and that raises a huge alarm with companies like Lockheed Martin. A lot of these companies that produce cruise missiles and things like that, the upper end of what used to be the prime precision munitions and missiles and aircraft, and now it's all being brought down low to the ground with more precision, and real time purposing, something that can be quickly deployed, uh, and it can hit a target faster than you can call in an airstrike. So it's kind of crazy. But our objective on this channel is to like promote the fun side of this stuff, and I'm here for that. Like this right here. I always talk about cheap fun on the channel, and there's something to be said about cheap fun, and I think again, like if we had to fall back on analog, we talk about this sometimes not being able to fly DJI HD systems. And I really hope that there's a domestic company that comes out with an affordable FPV hobby alternative to DJI. Um, you know, it would be smart. So here would be the smartest thing that some of these competitor HD FPV companies could do is source the parts, go get them made in Vietnam or somewhere, some non-adversarial country, have them assembled outside China with the majority of NDAA components, and get a HD system together, like HD Zero, for example. If HD Zero could do that, or if Immersion RC could finally get an HD system to go along with their amazing cameras, right? We need a little US version of an HD system to put on one of these guys. So that's the challenge, America. I want you to make an HD system that can continue fostering the hobby, the drone hobby. And the same for a pair of FPV goggles. We need a good pair of NDAA FPV goggles. Now, the Orcas, those are an option, but they're all out of stock everywhere. Can't buy a pair of Orcas anywhere. I still have a pair of Orcas, but you can't buy them unless you offer me the right price. Open IPC. So yeah, Open IPC. If Open IPC could again be made, the parts and components have to be NDAA. So maybe Rotor Ride or somebody get FPV, Pyro Drone. I think Race Day Quads and all these companies that are domestic suppliers, like, man, if you guys have any extra cash or investment money laying around for the future of your company, create an NDAA version of a flight controller, obviously, and an FPV system. You need a domestic FPV system. The Orcas do only analog. The Orcas don't do HD. And I've said it before. Like we did a video a while back on HD or analog, right? And I'll give you I'll give you a spoiler on that video. At the end of that video, I said, I have more fun with analog. You know why? Because I'm not afraid of breaking this thing, and I'll fly it like I would drive a 6-speed manual stick shift. Like, I'll fly the crap out of it. I'll drive the crap out of a Chevelle. And it just, at the end of the day, it's just more fun. You feel that torque, you feel the speed, and you're not as worried about destroying. It'd be like driving you're going to be a lot more careful with your Lambo than you would maybe your Chevelle, because the Chevelle's a little cheaper. It's a classic, but still, it's got that power to put you back in the seat. And it's got that raw power. You can drive a Chevelle and kick a wheel at 45 miles per hour going down the street. Um, the Lambo is fancier. You get the looks, but you're terrified to crash your Lambo. There was a video years ago. Some people were racing RC helis, a 700 class RC heli versus a Lamborghini. You should go check that out, because the takeoff speed of a T-Rex 700 sitting on an angle, you can spool up the blades and bring it up, and 3, 2, 1, bam, take off down a runway or a drag race strip. And they did this with a Lambo, and they crashed. They crashed the Lambo in this in this video. They tore the whole front end of a Lambo out. Some of those super rich RC guys in China playing around with their Lambos, and they were selling so many RC helicopters at the time that they were stankin' rich. So when you're stankin' rich, why not, race an RC helicopter? But I kind of wonder who would win in a race between a T-Rex 700 class RC heli and like a 5-inch race drone, both on blocks, both on the angle, 3, 2, 1, punch out. I feel like the FPV drone would definitely have way more power to weight ratio. So Sound Palace just joining us said, I'm later. The Chinese components affected. So right now we're in the clear. We're in the clear right now. You can buy your beta FPV Whoop. We got John in the chat. John said he just ordered a pair of SkyZone 040s last week, and he's tired of the weight and all the wires of the DJI Goggles V2. I agree. He says he wants to fly Whoops. I agree with that, John. It's the original V1s and the V2 goggles. They were so big. I don't know why DJI didn't just make a pair of goggles that were an accurate size. Like, my Goggles 3 are still slightly bigger and heavier than the my SkyZone 040X. I love the 040X. Freaking great. Ironically, I keep them in a Fat Shark case, because years ago on my channel. So let me tell you new guys something. Fat Shark, and this was some of my first FPV goggles, so I'm not bashing Fat Shark, okay? This brand right here, this used to be the hot ticket in FPV. Fat Shark used to be what everyone flew. All the multi-GP pilots, the FPV freestyle guys, the Dominators, starting with the V1s, were $400 or $500, and they were 100% worth it. And then you still had to add your own module because it didn't come with a module. So you had to go and find a module. They had a cheap little $25 module that I used with a patch antenna and a right-hand circular polarized antenna. Worked great. And then eventually I got some Sky Zones, and I tried out some Sky Zones. I think about the O2s originally. And then I got the 3s, and the 3s, hey, Johnny D says, I love my Sky Zone O3Os. Absolutely. I kept my O3Os for about 8 years, and I like sold them off to a friend or something somewhere along the line, and I dedicated myself to my O4Os. And here they are in the Fat Shark box. And this, for the past, I'd say, I feel like maybe about 7 years, I've been a Sky Zone guy. And while everyone else was still talking about how great Fat Shark was, I, I realized that the DVR and these are way better, and they record way better than any of the Fat Shark ones. The DVR and the Fat Sharks are not that great. So if you wanted like the ultimate antenna setup on these two, I'll tell you guys the antennas to get. If you're running some diversity module in your goggles, get yourself the long range dual right hand circular polarized. Depending also on what type of VTX antennas you have on your quad, you have to match up the goggles to the quad polarity. Otherwise, you're gonna you're not going to have the perfect reception. It's going to be weird. So you need to match up the polarity, the right hand circular polarized on the quad and on the goggles. I made that mistake early on, and I had some weird experiences flying. So this is the dual Lumineer AX2. You can see there's 2 antennas on this one. Use one of these, and then Sky Zone has their own patch, which this one's okay. This will get you started. So use a patch and a right-hand circular polarized together on your module. Now, if you want the better patch out there, if you can find these are great. And the cool thing about this patch is this is the real ACC patch. This is the OG 5.8 patch antenna that a lot of people love. I'll show you that up close. Now, why is that cool? Because check this out on the back. Look at this little smiley face on the front. Isn't that cool? Now look on the back. Notice that it has 2 connection points there. Why is that? Well, let me zoom in a little bit for you. Check that out. You can go on either side of the spectrum. You can take this little connector right here, and you can change it from left-hand circular polarized to right-hand circular polarized. Not a lot of patch antennas out there in the universe will allow you to do that. So if you can find a real ACC patch antenna on the interweb somewhere, I would buy one as soon as possible. Great patch antenna. Triple feed patch antenna. Real ACC. And you'll need one of these to go along with it. Typically, they give you one in the box. You kind of look a little bit Rick Moranis. And obviously, when you hook this up to your goggles, you need to pay attention about which side you put it on. You're going to put it on the right-hand side for right-hand circular polarized. Check it. How smart is that? They put the left one on the left. Now, some of you guys don't know the difference between right and left. Then you plug in both of these, and you've got some of the best connection out there for the cheapest price. This one will be more expensive because it's Lumineer. Real ACC will be cheaper than true RC antennas and patch antennas. I like true RC, but this is cheaper. And this does a great job. They make bigger ones of this one as well. So if you want to get real frickin' Rick Moranis looking, and some of you Gen Z guys, that's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Go watch it. Watchmaker asked if the DJI Goggles 3 are still going to be an issue coming to the US. As of current, yes, because you can't order them. DJI has taken us off the order list. DJI will currently not allow you to order Goggles 3. You have to go on Amazon, maybe, find some other retailer online. And the problem is finding a reliable source. You might pay a company that doesn't even ship the order, that'll just keep your money. Win Jumbie asks, have you seen the new iFlight analog goggles, SkyViz goggles? I have. I saw them this morning on Facebook, and I immediately typed in the word with the question mark on the end, reviewers, because I haven't seen them come in the mail yet, and I'm kind of wondering, like, what the hell's going on, iFlight? Why are those goggles not here for us to check out, compare, and review? Because I know you guys want to see those in person, not just from a Facebook ad. Actually see them work and see the DVR that it produces. The 04 Pros, that's a good question. I haven't looked on the DJI site in the store to see if they will let us order 04 Pros, but I will tell you one thing. With the looming executive order, I mean, it's going to be a little bit before DJI stuff is probably not allowed, but I do see that coming. So, I thought yesterday, while all this crap was up in the air, because so far this afternoon we have no news about any Chinese drone ban, but at this point, it made me think yesterday, I should go on Amazon and I should buy a couple myself. Just to like, I know it's going to be probably $400, but a year from now, when DJI is nowhere to be seen, I sure would like to have another 04, because I know I'm going to have quads that I wish had 04. And by that time, you guys will probably have like bought the last ones that I have here. And then I'll be shit out of luck myself. So I don't want that to happen. However, I think if it came down to it, I would give away my last FPV drone to you guys. If there were no more left in the world, I would give away my last FPV drone to you guys. That's how much I want to inspire people to fly. Let's see. Now, as long as I had an RC airplane somewhere I could fly. Because at the end of the day, I'm a plane guy. I'm an RC airplane guy. I'm a fixed wing guy. I love my drones, but I love my planes more. DJI 04 Pro. Searching on the website, on DJI's website. I do. I love my airplanes more. Don't hate. Buy now. Select an option. Add to cart. Welcome to DJI. Oh, they want me to receive their product updates. No thanks. Okay. So day before yesterday, I paid $200 for this remote right here, DJI FPV Remote Controller 3, because I didn't want to be stuck with that stupid dildo controller for the next 3 years with my Avata 2, and then have to go find a controller 3 on eBay or something that would cost me $700. So I bought it now before prices go through the roof. I heard some of you guys also bought a pair of N3s. Somebody was telling me. Not a fan of the N3 because the resolutions is bollocks, as Mads Tech would say. So if you want to have a Whoop size air unit, $109. I would grab 2 of those. Grab a couple of them if you can. $200. I would grab at least one Pro to have as a backup. Watchmaker says 533 has Goggles 3 in stock. I would go buy a pair of Goggles 3. Like, me, myself, I should go buy a pair of Goggles 3 because guess what? If my Goggles 3 die, I only have one pair. And then I couldn't fly all of these cool drones that they've sent me. Wouldn't that suck? I have all these drones and I couldn't fly any of them. I don't have that many 04s. Most of the quads that I have are analog. Mostly. Because DJI is expensive, and a lot of times these companies will send us the bring your own VTX version, like this one. That one was sent to me recently, and I have to build that one up. So I'm gonna probably have to take apart my. I don't want to. I take apart my Pavo 20 Pro. You could start a business tomorrow with a Pavo 20 Pro. This is not financial advice, but you could do interior real estate videos with a Pavo 20 Pro or a Nevada 2. Combination of both a Nevada 2 and a Pavo 20 Pro, that's a real estate business overnight. Just those two drones right there could get you jobs. You just have to be able to make some good promo videos and be able to fly nice and slow and smooth. The Pavo 20 Pro, you can smooth out, add some expo. Watchmaker says, holy crap, they had 10 in stock a few hours ago, now 4. We should probably put that to 0 because I don't even know where the hell else you can buy a pair of 03s right now. Like, you know, this is crazy right now. Like, and we're dealing with this right now. This is crazy, but wait, like 3 months from now and see where we're at. We're going to be in the deep trenches of trying to just make anything work, right? Somebody asked me on the last live stream how much money I would need to start up a manufacturing plant. I'd say 10 or 20 million to start, with an employee range from 10 to 12 people to start, probably raising up to about 30 people within the first year of operation to be able to make some hobby drones. And it can't just be any facility. It has to be a facility that's like dust free for chip manufacturing. Also, that meets OSHA standards. FPV Addict says, somebody been offering you $200 for an 03. Hold on to that 03 about 6 months from now, and you'll probably be able to get triple that price. Because there's a lot of people out there. There's probably more people out there with goggles that are compatible with the 03s, because the Integras and the Goggles 2, I'm pretty sure outsold the 03s. I bet there's more Integras out there in Goggles 2 than Goggles 3. Even though that system's newer, I think there's more out there. So FPV Therapy says, what does this bill ban? It's not a bill, it's an executive order, and it is possibly banning Chinese drone components, anything that emits a signal that could possibly be used for any type of PRC espionage on U.S. soil. But that does include Autel and DJI specifically. So yeah, it's going to get real weird real quick if that goes through. Yeah, Johnny D, I'm with you, man. I think it's bullshit. Me personally, like, oh man, I have seen so much. Like, if 11 years ago I had a choice, I was in a business direction to where I could have went one way or the other, and I chose to go this way. And I was so into this, I opened up a brick and mortar drone store in 2014, Drone Camps RC. in North Carolina, out on the Outer Banks. And damn it, if the first couple days I wasn't open with my store, my dream come true, this woman locally sends me an email and says, "Isn't there a moratorium on drones in Dare County in North Carolina?" And that was like the beginning of the Karens and the bureaucracy and the bullshit and the fear mongering and all the shit that was associated with being associated with drone flying. And that's been bouncing off my back for 11 years. You know how hard my turtle shell is now? I'm about sick of it. So fuck you to the Karens. Can I get America? And the bureaucracy and all the shit. So, yeah, I was one of the people that was saying that this technology 10 years ago, not embracing this technology 10 years ago. Nobody listened. They only wanted to ban stuff. They only wanted to compartmentalize it, geofence it, exclude it, regulate it to the hills, to the nines. And look where we are now. We're playing catch up. We have less than 1 year to make up 10 years of overseas innovation. God damn. That's the problem. We see jet skis, they're flying around out in front of our $1 billion beach house. We don't like the noise, so we have enough money to go to the city council and raise a big stink pot and influence the people who make the laws in the county and get those jet skis banned because fuck, we don't like them. They're annoying to me, so I'm going to have them banned. God damn it. That guy out there is just trying to have a good time. He is an idiot on his jet ski. Trust me, he's an idiot. And he's probably going to end up injuring himself anyway. But he should have the right to have fun, right? We should have the right to have fun in this country. If it's not hurting anybody else, he could do the same thing in his car. But did they ban his car? Nope. They didn't ban his Mustang. You can guarantee that. And you know, he probably drinks and drives, and who knows, people killed families stopped at a stoplight, drinking and driving and flying 100 miles an hour down the highway because they're partying. I don't believe in that type of freedom. But I do believe in the freedom to recreate, and that's what's being sort of systematically taken away by people who don't understand and regulate certain sectors. If you talk to any of the pilots, if you talk to a pilot about even some of the small things that are that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and it's important because you're dealing with loss of life possibly if you don't have something regulated, obviously in an airplane. But the things and the costs associated with flying an airplane, a real airplane, it's outstanding. Like the cost of a Cessna seat, right? So yeah, the shit that we've been dealing with in the FPV community is almost unbearable. You know? And that's why you see, people like XJet going on these rants, and usually I don't get in on these rants because shit, I'm just trying to keep you guys flying and not trying to put a target on my back because all I sit around and do is complain about America. I'm not complaining about America. I'm complaining about some of the people that run it, right? And don't complain about them either because they might come after you as well. Make a Raider says overregulation has destroyed the West. Yeah, I keep saying we have to innovate outside the box, and to a point, to a point, we have. Okay, there are some companies and some entities, even like government entities out there, that have like gone around the regulation to be able to get to uh, a technological innovation. And we've done that throughout history. If you watch movies, you've seen it before. Um, and even over in the UK and Britain, you've got the I think there was a show on Amazon. It's really good. You should check it out. It's called like the shit. What was it called? Rogue something. You guys seen that show? What's this group of guys in northern Africa, and apparently one of them was Irish, uh, like me, a true Irishman. But I'm Irish and Welsh, so I'm a double dragon, which means I'm a bit green dragon and a red dragon at the same time, which is kind of terrifying. Um, but this guy was crazy, and he was hard to control. But he ended up basically making it possible for the UK and Allied forces to defeat the Nazis in the war. And without that battle that they were in, it might not have happened. The West may have been speaking German today because of this one group, which was pretty fucking cool. You should go watch that. Rogue Heroes is what it's called. And we're not rogue heroes, but we're just some guys trying to have some fun with FPV drones. And Johnny D, you thinking about selling everything and buying an ultralight? I heard somebody say that recently that they were going to buy an ultralight. I would have. I don't want to squash your dreams, so I think you should do what you want. But I worry about if I was to go buy an ultralight, in the back of my mind somewhere when I was flying my ultralight, and this is me, this is just me, I would be thinking about John Denver. You guys remember what happened to John Denver flying his ultralight? So there's not a lot of regulation in ultralights, right? So like, you don't have the inspections on an ultralight that you would like on your Cessna. Like you can't just it's hard to even fly a Cessna, get it off the runway without some type of inspection consistently. And that's good. That's good to make sure that your plane's gonna fly. And so when John Denver went to take off, he was taking off the runway, and as he was getting off, just off the end of the runway, it did this. Straight down into the ground. Apparently, the control wire that controls the elevator on the airplane severed on takeoff, and I think it severed when he was putting pressure on it. And well, if he ran out of gas, he would have been able to pull up. But one of the things was that the elevator wire failed, and when you have no elevator, or if it just falls down like that, you're just going to nosedive. A backup pack. I don't think you can deploy a parachute quick enough, say 100 feet off the ground. Put some bubble wrap under your ass. Make it ready to see. See that guy fall 80 feet in a paraglider in a turn. I did see somebody hit the ground in a paraglider. Also, a friend of mine has a traumatic brain injury after falling about 400 or 500 feet down the side of an Oregon mountain from his speed wing. Very similar to a paraglider, but half the size. Very small. I wanted to get into paragliding, and essentially someone told me that a paraglider is a collapsible airplane wing. So my rational mind put that together, two and two together, and realized that that's a bad idea. A little gust of wind could turn that into basically a sleeping bag in the air, in a tangled mess, and you're dead. I had another friend who fell with I come from the kite surfing industry, and so we're pretty adventurous type of guys. We're extreme sports guys, and I was not competing, but I was pro for many years in the kite surfing industry. And my guy was, later after we stopped kiteboarding obsessively, we started doing other things like paragliding and paramotoring. And he was paramotoring down in Florida, and something happened, and he fell with his paramotor on his back, like 3 stories or something. He was flying over the sand dunes out at the beach, and I forget how many bones he broke, but he broke like 40 bones or something like that. Like he was, I mean, this is a strong, like athletic, like Olympic looking kind of guy, not like me. But yeah, he was in the best shape of his life coming out of that as a competition kiteboarder, pro kiteboarder. And man, the whole community was around him. He was in the hospital. He's lucky he didn't die, but eventually he made a recovery. But man, he broke so many bones. Ooh, yeah, dude. A little bit of a gust of wind and those paraglider wings, not a good combination. You can't trust the wind. Um, Very similar to how it affects an airplane wing. You know, turbulence. All turbulence is a lack of solid air, and all of a sudden, basically, you're falling through the air. And when you hit that stable air again, is when it produces lift. But it could be a few miles that your airplane's falling. You're literally falling through the air. So when you're flying an airplane, if you think about it properly, you're falling part of the way during your flight. You're falling, you're rising, you're falling. It's like a constant fall and rise as you're flying. And that's why you feel that little in the plane. It's, oh shit, we just fell 3 miles. No one really notices it. They're just looking at their iPad playing Mahjong. And at 40,000 feet, it's really hard to tell that you did just fall 6 miles. But when you're traveling, you know, 500 miles an hour, who cares? Because you're going to fly through it. You're going to get to the other side of that air pocket. It's like unseen bubbles. And sometimes they're caused by heat. So in the summer, as things heat up, this is kind of avionics 101. You have these air bubbles, and they'll bubble up, and sometimes they'll get together and they're invisible. And then as these bubbles get to a certain apex, a threshold, they will release, and all that air will go straight up. And sometimes this causes a vertical vortex of hot air, and we all know what hot air does. It rises, and the speed of that hot air going up is as fast as 747. So the amount of lift that could produce on an airplane passing by could be tremendous. So sometimes you'll get some real kind of sit you back in your seat moments in the aircraft when you're taking off. There's a lot of cloud cover around. There's like a lot of hot spots on the ground here and there. And these thermals, at the minimum, not a thermal bubble, but like just a typical thermal. It's just that hot air rising, and you fly it through that, and you feel it when you're taking off. The whole airplane will kind of shake and go boom, 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 boom as you're passing through it. That's that extreme amount of updraft that you're getting. And then the cold air giving you the downdraft gives you that sit you in your seat moment again or out of your seat moment when you're flying downwards at the ground at 400 miles an hour. Some amazing stuff that airplanes fly through. And our drones don't really have to worry about that because we fly a lot lower to the ground. Yeah, Dr. Lee, DJ Lee says, yeah, then a massive great white waits for you for lunch. Yeah, if you do survive the airplane crash, you get to try not to get eaten by a shark. One of the things, there is a defense. If you're ever in the ocean and a shark's going to attack you, now I have advice for everything. Have you noticed that I'm that type of guy? If we were hanging out and you said anything about anything, I have advice for you about anything you say. That's why I'm an instructor. I'm instructor minded. I have answers to literally fucking everything. If a shark attacks you, you're supposed to punch it right in the nose. That's what they say. Go underwater, put eyes on that shark, and punch it right in the fucking nose as hard as you can. Because the sharks have more sensors in the front of their nose than anywhere in their entire body. It's like punching them in the dick. It's true. Some of the shark attack victims that survived, like, fought back. You know what I mean? So that you can look up some of that stuff on the internet, talk about these shark attacks. They fought back. They kicked at it or they hit it. So yeah, FPV therapy. Joining in a little bit late on this stream, there is good news. We don't see currently that. Yeah, give us a thumbs up on the stream for covering this today. We looked at this executive order live stream this morning. They talked about all of this nuclear companies getting basically probably a lot of funding, some deregulation for them to go full steam ahead on nuclear for the benefit of AI, right? The AI facilities need all this extra energy to be able to make that happen, right? Without that, it's not going to happen because our grid can't support the amount of electricity that this new AI is going to need, right? So that went through, sailed through. Trump signed all of those orders, but we did not see the executive order, right? We did not see the executive order on the FPV Chinese drone ban, right? It's awesome. Thank God. Thank God. We also kind of looked at some of the Ukraine FPV mission that took out the bombers. Some pretty crazy new footage came out. It appeared that they were flying in altitude hold. I don't know why you'd be flying in altitude hold, because the moment you stop pushing the stick forward, then the drone literally stops and holds itself in place. Or altitude hold, no, excuse me. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Altitude hold keeps your altitude. They should have been flying in acro, in my opinion. Full manual mode. Altitude hold just keeps your altitude, but you will be sliding on ice. It's not like GPS hold. Confusing, the most basic flight modes here today, which means I need more coffee, and I've been on here too long, so I'm screwing up my flight modes. But altitude hold, yeah, it was really interesting that they're flying over top of these bombers in what appears to be altitude hold in the OSD on the screen. Um, and in every single, and this was nice DVR. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but this DVR looks pretty nice. This definitely looks like I would say this is an HD system. That's way too nice camera quality and OSD to be analog FPV right there. And you can see over here on the right hand side of the screen, just below that CNN block covering it, it says altitude hold right here. Then they have their angle of degrees over here on the right hand side. And it's a pretty fancy OSD system they have up here. My guess was that it was most likely Pilot, something like that they were flying on this. John comes in and says, too much latency for acro, the way they were controlling those drones. It does look like, I mean, from this, I could fly acro with this kind of latency. It's not the greatest real-time system, and that's why I look at it and I think it's definitely not. I don't think it's an analog system. It's definitely not an analog system. I mean, it could also be, yeah. But look at that. Can you imagine flying in that? What? Chris Wassenberger asks for the chat, do you have a general choice for Whoop AIO board without a VTX? Without a VTX? Right now, I would go look at the Matrix from Beta FPV. It's super awesome because everything's plug and play. You just plug all the stuff in and go for it. So yeah, John C. Gibson, why the tires on the plane? I personally don't know why they have tires on the plane. I'm not a military expert. It may be to a heat barrier to keep the planes from getting super ultra hot, pass some of that heat through to the tires. I have no idea. That would just be a guess. If they're sitting out in the sun, they get hot. Who knows? I don't know. It's interesting that they put tires. That would be we should ask ChatGPT, right? We should ask ChatGPT, why would they put tires? Okay, let's ask ChatGPT. Why would you put tires on an airplane roof or wings? What would you say about that, ChatGPT? Okay, let's see what ChatGPT says. Putting tires on an airplane's roof or wings is not standard aviation practice. We knew that. There are a few rare or practical contexts where it might make sense in unconventional or improvised settings. To weigh the plane down on the ground. Wind or storms, probably not. Protection during storms. Storage of spare parts. Photography or movie set props, probably not. Why it's not normal or safe for flight. Yeah, definitely not safe for flight. I would say don't fly your airplane when there are tires on top of the wing. I don't know why ChatGPT obviously doesn't know why there's tires there either. So if anybody figures that out, that would be that's going to be bothering me for the rest of the day. Why the hell would the tires sit on the on top of the planes to defeat AI? It just did. It just actually did. They have some technology there that not even ChatGPT knows. Spare parts? Really? AI? Spare parts? You think that? Oh my God. See, this is why AI is not up to speed yet. This is ridiculous. You don't put spare tires on top of an airplane for putting parts in there. It is common at rural airstrips with no tie-down infrastructure. I don't think so. I don't think a bomber is so heavy, I don't think you'd need to put tires on top of the wing to keep the plane held down. That's ridiculous. Come on, ChatGPT. I mean, seriously. Sheesh. So you know how I have proof that ChatGPT will not take over the world soon? Because it doesn't know why Russia put tires on top of their bombers. That seems like a very basic thing to know about an airplane on a runway, right? And they put a lot of tires on top of those planes. It wasn't just a couple up there. There was like at least 50 tires on top of these airplanes. Imagine having to take all those tires off the top of the airplane before you could take off. Oh, we forgot a few up there. Shit. We just took out the vertical stabilizer with a fucking tire. Stabilization. There you go. That's it. That's it. That's what it was about, you guys. It was adding stabilization to the top of the Russian aircraft. Those planes were from the 40s, and they just needed a little extra dampeners. That's what they were. They were dampeners for these Cold War era airplanes. Those are old school dampeners. Yeah. It's exactly what those tires were. They were dampening, right? They roll off. I wonder if you took off with all those tires on top, how many of them would stay on there, or if the plane would take off with that amount of disruption for the airflow? You think one of those planes would take off with all those tires on top? I'd like to see that on like what's that show? What's that show where they tested things? Was it Tested? What the hell was that show? With Adam. Adam did some drone stuff too, which is pretty cool. I'd like to see that. That'd be a cool video. Imagine how fast those tires would be rolling off the side of the runway when they were taking off. Yeah, that would suck to be taken off and then have a tire go in your jet engine. You think a bird strike would be crazy? How about a tire through the jet engine? The size, jet engine with an opening the size of my Mercedes Sprinter van. Big fucking tire rolling through that jet engine. That might cause some disruption. Yeah, all the tires were painted camo to avoid AI detection. Bumper planes. Oh, that could be fun. You get a bomber, I get a bomber, he gets a bomber, she gets a bomber. So yeah, we're right now we're in nothing territory. We're still in the good. So if you need to make those orders on like certain things and parts, and we talked about hoarding O4s, I would hoard some O4s or O3. If you can find an O3, if you're the guy with a pair of Integras or goggles too, if you don't make your order in the next like 7 days, you might be buying it for $400 or $600 off eBay the week after. Because guarantee you, after Russia had that shit go on this week, they're probably buying them themselves. Russia already bought all the DJI-04s. Forget it, you guys. John said because they're so old, the Russians retired those planes. And then they stuck tires on top of them. These planes are retired. Ah. That was a good one, John. Wouldn't that be something if, like, they planned this whole mission for, like, 1 year, and they they did all this planning, all these hours of work, and they assembled all these drones. They made this transformer tractor trailer, Optimus Prime, fold down, hundreds of drones flying out, and they bombed all these bombers, and then all of a sudden, oh fuck, that's an airplane graveyard. We bombed a bunch of retired planes. Special forces out of Guadistan. Special forces attacks the retired airplane yard. Whoops. It took us 4 years to plan that operation. Wackistan. Maybe they thought that the tires would stop the FPV drones. Maybe that's the simple explanation. The simple guy's explanation is that the tires were there to defeat the munitions. Maybe they thought that it would bounce off the top and keep going. Eh? Now there's an idea. All you guys with cars should stick tires on top of your cars. In case an FPV drone comes, it's the poor man's counter drone defense by sticking 15 tires on top of your automobile. So when that 7-inch comes in, it's just going to bounce and keep going. It's going to hit the next car over, not yours. Yeah? That's what they were thinking. They would just bounce and keep going. Nope. They found the spot on the wing very meticulously. Do you see that video? They were really taking their time going in there to find like the perfect spot to land. I mean, that was the slowest, the slowest descent I've ever seen of an FPV attack drone. I mean, this was some strategic, slow maneuvering. I don't know if I've ever flown that slow myself. Maybe this spot. No, maybe this spot. Oh, look at the tires. They think I'm going to hit a tire. Haha. Not hitting a tire today. I'll just go from the backside. See? This tires didn't stop. Holy crap, look at all the black smoke. Whoa. What is that fighter? Anybody? Wow, that's a lot of tires on that one. Did you see all those tires on that one? Now, let's go back and look at that again. Did you see ropes coming off the side of those tires? Ah, yeah, I saw ropes. Look at that. Did those ropes go to the ground? Well, they have anchors. Oh, okay. Okay, you guys, see that? Those ropes go through the wing down to the ground. So the tires is the anchor. So they have all these cables running through the tires as a sort of a poor man's netting to hold down the bomber to the ground when the wind comes up. So you can see all the going through the wing there to the ground, and then over here in the front of the plane holding it down. So when the wind comes up, bam, those tires hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down now. Why didn't I think of that to hold my Cessna down? Get you some tires, boy. Strap him on the top of that airplane. Keep that plane down, boy. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, boy. Anything goes on some runways. I don't know if you guys are religious or not. Damn ads. So I was down in Alabama one time. You know, that one time in Alabama. I was down in Alabama one time, deep in the deep south, in the deep parts of Alabama. And I was over at an airport, which I was usually pretty close to airports all the time. So I was at an airport, and this was back in the day when it didn't matter if you flew RC at an airport, because if you just walk to the control tower and say, "Hey man, I want to fly my RC airplane. Can I fly my RC airplane here?" They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. RC airplane, who cares? Yeah, nerd, go fly your freaking RC airplane. If you hear a plane coming, just make sure you land it and get it the fuck out of the way before a Cessna comes in, or trainer helicopters, whatever. Just get your nerdy crap out of the way. You know, if you want to be a pilot when you grow up, great. This is kind of how people get started, right? Let this nerd go fly his airplane. So we were out there flying on the tarmac back before all the Karens. It's just one dude at the entire airport who was overseeing the airport manager. And it's always smart, even in those days, to ask, like, "Hey man, can I fly my airplane?" And he might say, "Fuck no, get out of here." But most of the time, they're nice. You know what I mean? They're nice. And he said, "Yeah, you guys go head out there and whatever. It's my friend's birthday." You know, he doesn't have a girlfriend, obviously, because he's got an RC airplane. No girls around, just us two idiots in this RC airplane. He takes off, and the damn thing loops over our heads, and this is in the middle of the runway. Comes over my head. I take off running because I'm like, shit, this thing's coming back around, and this thing has an 8-foot wingspan and a gas motor on the front of it, and it's coming around to chew me the shit up. So I take off running, pants falling down, scrambling, getting the fuck out of the way. And here comes this airplane. It didn't even make a full loop. It made like a half circle and came down straight above us. And this is why anything fun is illegal now. You guys aren't allowed to do it. But as this thing's coming back down, I realize this entire airplane is going to drill itself into the middle of the runway. And by that time, I dove off the side of the runway into the grass. And as I'm turning around to look, my man's still standing there with the freaking transmitter in his hand, didn't move. And this thing piles in right next to him. And this plane was in 1,000 pieces of balsa and monocoque. I don't even know where the motor went. I think the motor flew off like 25 feet to our left off the end of the runway. Motor's still running over there. Parts going everywhere. And I'm laughing. I'm laying on the ground laughing, and you know, there goes his $400 or $500 he bought off Craigslist from some old man, and he's standing there with the transmitter, looking kind of stupid, like, "What the just happened, JD? What the hell just happened?" And you know, I'm laughing my ass off, and I hear this familiar sound of a helicopter, but this really low sound of bop 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 bop, and I look and I'm like, "Oh shit! Here comes a motherfucking helicopter down the runway, straight at us." Straight at us. And I notice it's a white helicopter, you know, and I'm kind of like going like this, like, "Hey, don't come this way. Get that fucking helicopter out of here." And there's about 5,000 pieces of balsa all over the runway. And I said, "This guy's going to make a low pass." So he's not low enough to like hurt us or anything. But you know, the downdraft on a helicopter, even a little tiny trainer piece of crap. And it was like the guy saw this happen and knew what he was doing, because he came straight at us. He came straight at us down the runway. And the force of that downdraft from that trainer heli took every single piece of balsa and threw it off the side of the runway out into the tall grass in the middle of this deep South Alabama town. And typically if you have a crash with an RC airplane, you could gather up the parts, put them in a trash bag, take them home, rebuild the plane. Not in this case. Everything was gone. Everything was gone. He's screaming at the helicopter guy, "Fuck you!" Yeah, still transmitter in his hand, still in disbelief that he just crashed his plane. And before that, he was trying to start it up. This was our second attempt to launch the plane because the first time around, he had a large nylon prop. The APC prop was about a 10 to 11 to 12 inch prop. And he was trying to get the motor started bare hand. And he got the thing to crank up one time. And when he did, he put his hand back in the way. He did this deal. He was, and he somehow put his hand back in the propeller and sliced his hand from the top all the way down to the bottom of his palm. So he had like a 4.5 inch gash across his hand. So he's standing there in the middle of the runway, hands bleeding. RC airplane crashed, and these guys are in the heli passing us, laughing their asses off. And that was his birthday. And he didn't have a woman. So we gathered up all the parts and stuff that we could off the end of the side of the runway. I think we got the motor. But stuff's not very regulated on the small airports. That same day, we had a preacher come up to us. And after this first crash, we should have never done this. But this preacher comes up to us. And, I was asking earlier if you guys are religious. Because this guy comes up and he says, hey, I'm about to fly my airplanes. I think it was some kind of Cessna. He said, hey, it's probably a 30-year-old at the time Cessna from the 70s or something. And this is like the early 2000s. And I said, yeah, I'm about to take it up. I'm about to do a test flight. Just wondered if you guys want to come up with me and help me out. And I'm like, oh, what's the problem? What's the problem with the, you have mechanical problems? Like, oh, no. It's electric. I'm having some kind of a black smoke coming out of the plane's dashboard. He says, but I'm a pastor, and Jesus is my co-pilot. We will be fine, boys, because God is my co-pilot, and our Lord and Savior will not let this plane crash or catch on fire, even though there's black smoke coming out of the dashboard. You guys want to go fly? Now, who in this room would go fly? Would you guys get in that plane? Now, just to give you a clue how crazy I am, I went and got in the plane. I don't give a damn. I'll fly with you, sure. I'll get in it. That's how much I love airplanes. Oh, that shit's on fire? Let's go fly it. Hell yeah, let's get in there. Let's go fly. Come on. Let's do it. Fire it up. We'll probably it'll be fine. We'll just ride it out. Black smoke. You don't need that one part that's on fire. We'll make it. we all three hop in this airplane. He cranks it up to go off the end of the runway. We get up in the air. We're flying. Hell yeah, we're flying. Smoke's coming out the dashboard. And we're trying to figure out where the smoke's coming from while we're flying, right? Yeah. So everything was good until till the engine stopped. So now we're just gliding. There's smoke, black smoke's coming out of the dashboard. And this was my come to Jesus moment. I had to look over at him and have a small meeting with him as he's trying to figure out how to get the engine to recrank. And says, a preacher, is there a specific prayer that you have in mind for this situation? Because I'm seeing that we are still gliding, but I see the ground is coming at us. Yeah, and there's still smoke coming out of the dashboard, even though the engine's off, sir. There is still smoke, black smoke coming out of the dashboard. I'm pretty sure he said a couple quiet prayers. That engine restarted with there's a switch on the airplane that'll restart the engine for unknown reasons, and gremlins and black smoke coming out of the dashboard. The engine had stopped. And if you've ever been on a glide in a Cessna, they'll glide for a little bit, but eventually a glide turns into a crash and more fire. So the engine restarted, and it did restart, but it wasn't running very good. And it was kind of making like coughing sounds as we were flying. And we weren't flying far. We weren't very far from the tarmac and the runway where we crashed the RC airplane. But as we're making our approach back to the runway, I noticed that we're a little bit lower than normal. And as we're coming in, I swear to God, I think we might have actually touched the telephone wires coming across the highway as we were coming in to make our landing at this little tiny Alabama airport. Yeah, and I don't know a specific prayer that I could say to save my ass on that final approach, as they call it. This will be our final approach ever. What a day in aviation. What an American day in aviation. And that is small town American airports. That's the things that go on at small town American airports. That was before all the hyper regulation and things. We used to have fun. We used to take off with smoke coming out of the dashboard. Fuck it. Let's go. You know what I mean? It flew, just not well. But I did get to fly when I was up there. I got to fly. Flying an airplane is a weird thing. It feels like driving a car, but it's floating. It's this weird feeling. There's a lot going on, but it seems fairly controllable. It's like controlled chaos, right? Flying. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could get us on the ground if the pilot died and you gave Justin Davis the sticks. I'm pretty sure I could get us on the runway. How safe I could get us on the runway, that's to be seen. But I've never done a manual landing. I would love to do that, though. I think that would be the funnest thing in the world, to do a manual landing. That would be fun, right? Oh, hell yeah. Full flaps, baby. Full flaps. Nose down. Plenty of airspeed. Bleed off a lot of the airspeed at the last moment. Slight stall. Put the wheels down. Oh yeah, baby. Just to hear that burn of the rubber when you hit the runway. You know what I mean? I want to do that. Hell yeah. And at 100 miles an hour, we should be flying airplanes, not these drones. I think in my last life, it's possible that I was a World War II airplane pilot, because look at the shit behind me, right? I didn't come to this life being this patriotic. I already was. Damn it. And as crazy stuff goes on in the country, um, it's hard to be. You can't be mad at like the country itself. You just be mad at the people um, that make some of the dumbass rules, right? It's like any club. You have a club full of people, and there's always that couple guys who just don't quite fit in, right? They don't quite fit into the mix, and they like to stir up a lot of trouble. And then that makes it really difficult for the rest of the people in the club. Very similar to a lot of the AMA airfields around the country. There's always that one or two, and sometimes we would have somebody want to join the AMA field, and they would start off with their first email being like 6 and 7 pages long, and talking about all of the imperfections of the current field, where we have our markers, and just it's kind of like that employee that comes in and wants to turn the whole company upside down and make a whole bunch of changes, and during the normal daily operations, that person becomes a giant pain in the ass. So that person probably usually ends up getting fired. But those guys are super enthusiastic, right? They come in blazing, man. They're like, "Oh, I was talking to city council today about, the encroachment of your RC airfield on the neighboring gun range, and I'm feeling that the county should rezone our airstrip to the south end of the field." And everybody's standing there is going, "God damn. No, you're not allowed in our club. You're a pain in the ass. Go away." And that's how it is in FPV. Like, uh, but some people are more into doing stuff like that, and trying to come in being a boss about things, and all it really does is it doesn't really make any progress, because all the guys want to do at the end of the day is just fly their damn RC airplanes, and they just want to fly their FPV drones, right? You just want to fly your drones. You don't want to be reading into 65 pages worth of documents to have to fly your drone, right? They need to summarize this crap, because it is supposed to be a recreational hobby, right? Right, exactly. John says, "I don't want to fly in a circle 12 times to go home." Me neither. I want to fly in a straight line, maybe do some curves here and there, some couple loops, maybe a couple split S's. And honestly, a lot of times when I talk to full scale pilots about FPV, and I talk about they talk about, "Oh, how high do you fly?" I don't fly that high at all. Like, I could go fly 11,000, 15,000 feet if I wanted to. I could go fly 20 miles right now. Do I want to fly 20 miles? No. Why? Because I don't want to walk. I don't want to have to walk further than I feel like walking to go pick up my drone or my airplane. And that means that I'm flying it within a couple 100 feet away 100% of the time. I wouldn't say 99.9% of the time, because um, like, flying long range is risky, because if you fail safe or you don't have your GPS set up properly, it does not come back to you. Uh, It's kind of like having your favorite kite. You let out all the line, and all of a sudden, boom, your kite's gone. Shit, where'd my kite go? Kite's gone. My favorite kite. Not getting it back. Then you got to go find it. You got to go hike down into the jungle and find your kite. It's not happening. So, yeah, I don't like to fly further or higher. When it gets out of line of sight, shit, man. Honestly, like at that point, I hate not to have to get something back, and that sucks. Like, and I tell these full scale airplane pilots too, like, they say they worry about drones and stuff sometimes. They say, well, you don't have to worry about mine, because if you hit mine, you're flying below the tree line. If you hit my drone, you're probably crashing. You're already crashing, because if you're flying an airplane below the tree line, you're landing on a runway. I don't fly anywhere near runways these days. 25 years ago, we did, because we had permission from the county commissioner. And even then, the federal government took over the runway. I remember Billy Mitchell Airport, one of the most famous small airports in America. Because if you're in aviation, you should know who Billy Mitchell is. If you don't, anyway, park ranger came up. I've been flying there since I was a kid. I used to fly there by myself all the time. And, you can hear a Cessna coming, or Beechcraft, or whatever the hell it is, coming from miles away. You can hear that engine, right? You can be standing on any runway, small runway in America, flying your RC airplane or your drone. Don't do it nowadays. But you can hear an airplane coming in. And when they come in, they will always circle the airport, and then they'll make an approach from which side of the runway they best feel will give them the softest landing. Usually you want a headwind coming down the runway. You don't want to land with a tailwind. So they'll go swing around to the perfect side of the runway. Sometimes it might be a hella crosswind out on the Outer Banks, and a whole bunch of turbulence, because you have trees which suck down the air off the end of the runway and can drop the plane into the trees. So you have to fly high enough above the trees to this Billy Mitchell Airport, and then you have to come in full stick and just dive past the trees to try to miss that cool air downdraft that's happening. And then once you get past that, it's a little bit of beach sand, and then you can try to bleed off your airspeed as quick as possible and hit the brakes. It's a pretty short runway. This park ranger walks up and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know you can't fly that here. I'm like, well, I've been flying here since I was a kid, and I have the county commissioner's permission to fly here, sir. He said, well, as of 9/11, Homeland Security, federal government has taken operation of this airport now, and I have the authority and jurisdiction over the county commissioner, even though, he is the manager of this airport. Also, you are going to have to, because of 9/11 and Homeland Security, you're going to have to pack that RC airplane up, sir, and exit the premises. I mean, talk about killing a kid's dreams. Now, this was the same park ranger who used to be a cop in our town, and he became a park ranger. So he was kind of a Barney Fife to begin with. But he pulled me out of bed one morning, and there was some beach parties, right? I used to go to a lot of these beach parties. He pulled me out of bed. My mom says, oh, there's a police officer at the door. So I get in his car, and I'm riding down the road. I'm like, why is this cop? I'm like 14 or something. He said, yeah, there was a beach party last night. And, this guy took a bunch of furniture off all these houses, and he made a big bonfire out of all this beach furniture, all this wooden furniture. And, the people at the party said Justin did it. I'm like, there's only one Justin on the entire Outer Banks. And I didn't even know who this guy was, right? I didn't know that he liked to harass skateboarders and surfers, uh, because that was what he liked to do. But yeah, I'm like, I don't even know what you're. I mean, yeah, I've been to some beach parties, but I don't know what. I Yeah, I wasn't out last night. I'm 14. Um, so yeah, but he could have tried to pin something on me that some tourist guy did. But they were looking for a local, but it was actually a tourist who did this. Um, it's ridiculous. But that same guy was the guy who told me that 9/11's, Homeland Security was no longer allowed to fly my RC airplane. I'm like, I'm not a terrorist. Look at me. I'm like, I don't wear the terrorist outfit. Jesus Christ. I'm a local. You pulled me out of bed when I was 14. Maybe he was mad that he didn't get his guy or something. Years later, still holding a grudge. Man, people can they can hold grudges for a lifetime. So you got to watch out. I don't know. Maybe I was a smartass when he had me in his car asking me about the beach furniture. I probably was because I knew I didn't do it. So, in a 14-year-old mind, you're like, check out my long fishing rod. Man, I I would not be seen dead on a Nash skateboard back in the day. I was on a Powell and Peralta. Steve Stedham. You want to see what board I was on? I was not on a Nash, Johnny. I was on a Steve Stedham board, and this is a special edition Steve Stedham, kind of a one-off design. He has his own store now. Of course, a lot of these retired Powell guys, but he still skates really well. He still skates pool, and I ordered this from him, and I got to talk to him on Facebook. I might have actually told you guys about this when it happened. I was so excited. I was telling my girlfriend, I'm talking to Steve Stedham on Facebook Messenger. Like, to me, that was like talking to like Tony Hawk, because like Steve Stedham was my dude, and mostly just because, I mean, that was the board that I ended up with when I was like 10. But it was my first like legit real skateboard, and having a skateboard in like 1985 was like having a car, right? Except the cops could take your car from you whenever they wanted to if they saw you. So we tried to usually avoid interactions with the police back in those days. But my granddad was a deputy sheriff as well, so I didn't really have to worry about that too much. In our county, we're a pretty small county. But look at the top of it. It has a freaking bomber on the top with a skeleton riding it. That's why the 80s are one of the 80s and 90s one of the best decades. Like Gen Z needs to have some shit like that, right? You Gen Z guys, skeletons were cool back in the day. Like it was funny. Like I when I got this board in the mail, my girlfriend is millennial, so she sees this giant skull on the bottom. She's like, "Ew, it has a skull on it. You want to hang that on the wall?" I'm like, yes, this is fucking art. This is art. This is history right here, right? But it has a skull on it. It symbolizes death. I don't think that's very nice. I'm like, all the fucking skateboards from the 80s had skulls on them. And it was cool. Now, if you draw skulls all over your notebook, you're like some kind of psycho kid, right? Like, oh God, he's drawing skulls on his notebook. For God's sakes, he's a murderer. He's a little Dahmer. It's like, when my son got in his first couple fights, they're like, they were treating him like a terrorist. I'm like, he's not a bad kid. He's just a badass. He's just a badass. That's all. He beat the crap out of your kid. I mean, it just means he's a badass. I can't help it. My son's a badass. And that'll settle down. He'll stop doing that crap, which he did. Can't help it. My kid's a badass. But yeah, hell yeah. So look on the very bottom of this board. Yeah, he signed it. So not only did I get the cool ass like hologram Steve Stedham deck, I got the Siggy on the bottom. And when that came in the mail and I saw that Siggy on the bottom, I was like, oh, so fucking cool. That's the best thing ever. My favorite skater. And I think the next deck that I need in my collection, and it's sat back here in a lot of videos, is the Lance Mountain. I really want to get, like, I would love to get a Lance Mountain. 'Cause I think Lance Mountain and Steve Stedham are probably two of the most down to earth skaters, pro skaters from that era of Bones Brigade. Some of the Gen Z people don't know what Bones Brigade is, but that was like that was revolutionary. There's a documentary on it you should watch if you're into skating. But skating and FPV is very, very similar. We talk about FPV freestyle all the time, like going and looking for spots to fly. Finding a spot to fly is a lot like trying to find a skate spot where the Karens aren't going to harass you. Like, you're just trying to find a place to have fun where people aren't going to harass you. Pretty much sums up my entire life. DJ Lee says first board with a bunch of concave was Stedham. It does have a bunch of concave. I like that. Seems like there was way less concave in the 90s too. Like some of those boards that came out, the bidirectional decks have way less concave. I have a deck over here from a company out of California called Welcome that I got a couple years ago, and it's sort of a hybrid, kind of a new school board mixed up with like a 1980s larger ramp deck. It's kind of cool. I like those hybrid boards where they're like, so if I could choose like a modern board to ride, it would be like one of those hybrid boards. It's kind of a mashup between the 1980s decks and the 90s decks. I like that little oversized thing. But yeah, guys, good news today because finally no news of executive order and Chinese drone stuff. So I'm gonna do a live search on the internet real quick before we end this live stream. Well, I've got you here. Let's just make sure we do that before we end the stream to make sure there's no bombshell surprises. Hello. All right, so we're asking ChatGPT will search the web for us. As of June 4th, has not yet signed an executive order banning Chinese drones. However, the White House is finalizing multiple executive orders that could significantly impact Chinese drone manufacturing, particularly DJI and Autel. What's being finalized? Accelerate national security reviews of Chinese drone companies like DJI and Autel. Well, we knew that was happening, right? Potentially ban the sale of new Chinese drones in the U.S. if these companies are deemed security risks. I beg the question: Is Beta FPV? Is this threat to national security? Probably not. I don't think so. You know, is this a threat to national security? I would say no. I think this is actually a positive to national security. Look at this thing. That's coming up on the channel. It's freaking awesome. You know, is this a threat? No, probably not. Yeah. Hobby stuff is a threat to national security. I mean, I think what's a threat to national security is people. People are a threat to national security. People. People that execute bad ideas and bad motives. Yeah, and a lot of people say phones. I mean, phones are, you know, this right there has more power to disrupt than any of our hobby drones. Oh yeah, the Airwolf is sexy. She's sexy, man. I can't wait to spool that heli up. It looks amazing. Flywing also makes one, and for some reason Flywing has been super stingy lately, but I've made them some awesome videos in the past, and they should definitely hook us up with their version of the Flywolf. But the Airwolf, this is a Eachine one. Pretty cool. It's got bombs on the bottom. Look at that. I can bomb Lego men. And those bombs look really close to that Brussels motor. I don't know about that. Oh, there's clearance. They look like they're like sitting very close to where that thing spins. I'm gonna reposition those things. But yeah, this says it goes on to say that it's going to promote domestic manufacturing by providing federal support and modernizing regulations. So, federal support is what we need for fostering the FPV hobby, because if you foster the FPV hobby, and you know, tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, if we foster the FPV hobby, then that promotes new pilots, right? Without a really healthy FPV hobby ecosystem, it's hard to just wall off, you know, new pilots from the private training sector. So to get pilots over into the military, look at historical aviation in general. Most of the pilots out there in America, even commercial pilots, the people who fly you from point A to point B, a lot of those guys started out because their father or grandfather somehow got them into aviation as a kid, or they just loved airplanes as a kid, and they probably had airplanes all over the bedroom, pictures in their bedroom. Like, some people are obsessed with it. As soon as they see it, they just want to do it. And that's how I was as a kid growing up. So I was obsessed with it, and just always loved anything that flew. So we need to foster that. So our hobby is you know, our hobby is important to national security, right? The FPV hobby is important. Fostering youth aviation, one of the most critical things that a nation can do, right? Very important. If we don't have that, we don't have shit. We got a bunch of good gamers in this country, and this is very similar to gaming, but I always call it outdoor PlayStation. So if you like gaming, a lot of us, like I consider myself a gamer for many years. Now I have children, so I don't have time to play games. But yeah, it's very similar to gaming. So if you have like game skills, if you're just wanting to learn how to fly FPV, you'll be a better pilot than me in no time. if you're good at gaming. Hand-eye coordination. That's what this is all about. Eye to the fingers, timing, throttle, and knowing what's coming next, and anticipating that motion to your next turn, not flying into the tree like I did yesterday. I flew an RC heli straight into a tree branch yesterday. I did it once on accident, and the next time I did it on purpose, because I was amazed that when I went over to pick this thing up, that it was still in one piece. It was the C032. It was a UH-1 Huey from RC Era, and that thing flew straight into a giant tree branch and survived. And usually, typically, when an RC heli flies into a branch, it immediately breaks all kinds of parts. The plastic parts, everything gives and pops off, the links and everything, bam, just pieces. And then I walked over and it was fine. I picked it up and was like, let's do that again. Let's do that again. So I did it again. I flew it straight into another tree branch. Made all these terrible, terrible ass noises. If you ever fly RC heli into a tree branch, it's going to be like, all the gears are grinding. The thing is still going full speed. You know, I'm trying to press the emergency stop button as fast as I can. It's still, it's not, you're gonna walk up to some stripped gears, because the helis are full of gears, and that's a great thing. That's why a lot of people fly FPV, because you don't have all those gears and servos and all that other shit you can break. You can fly this into a swing set, pick it up, and fly it again. And I picked that heli up and I flew it again. I crashed into 2 tree branches and it still didn't break. That thing was awesome. So what I thought was going to be a boring little review ended up being super cool, and that thing's like $100. Gwen Fox says, so I guess my DJI drone is a brick now. Not yet. Not yet. Soon. Maybe soon. No, it'll be fine. Keep flying. Keep flying. You're going to be fine. It's not a brick until they make it a brick, right? Now, if there's ever a point where, they say everything is grounded, the number one advice I will give you is do not. And that will be the crux. Some of those you have to hook up to your phone to fly. And if you hook it up to the phone to fly, it may do a forced update and ground it. Who knows? I don't know. But DJI could do that anytime they feel like it, right? They have the power to be able to do that. Heresy. DJ Lee says it's heresy. It is kind of heresy. Johnny D loves a Corsair. So do I, sir. It's my favorite damn plane in the entire planet. Look, I don't sit far from a Corsair, even though it doesn't have a propeller on the front. It's somewhere on the floor. Oh, yeah, we had fun with this one. I wired I need to pull this off here, too. I wired an 04 on this one. It was cool. Flew it FPV, put the little camera out on top of the cockpit there. Lived my World War II fantasy of my past life as a World War II pilot. Pretty sure there's a Justin Davis in the Normandy Cemetery or somewhere out there. But yeah, guys, no news is good news. So no news today. I was ready for it. And ChatGPT seems to think that, it's going to happen. It's coming. No one knows what's in it. And so here's the kicker as well. So if you're on the tail end of the stream, good for you. Crap sakes. So when will it happen? It has not been signed yet, but they're expected to be issued soon, possibly within the next few days. This exact timing remains uncertain, of course, but the administration appears to be moving quickly on this matter, but not as quick as nuclear. Nuclear more important than the Chinese FPV drone ban. The key takeaways are no executive order has been signed yet, but preparations are underway. So that means they're preparing to prepare. They're preparing to prepare because I know they've already prepared. We all know they've already prepared. It also says DJI and Altair are the primary companies that could be affected. Obviously, thanks Washington Post, you geniuses of democracy. The focus is on national security and reducing reliance on Chinese technology. What about the phones? We rely on those phones. No one's giving up their phones. I guarantee that. And the last I checked, there's more Chinese-made phones in this country than tiny whoops. Right? It would be a shame if this got banned and you couldn't fly this versus a stankin' iPhone. What would you rather give up? Would you give up your iPhone or would you give up your drones? What would you give up first? That's a really good question. I should do I want to keep both. Because I think all of us who watch this channel and obviously me who run this channel, we're not I don't think any of you guys are a threat to national security. I think that you're in a way a benefit because you guys know how to fly these things and you foster the promotion and the spread of the hobby for the love of it, right? For the love of it. That's what we're here for. It's the love of it. Like ha- the feeling that you get when this comes off the ground and you fly, that like saves people. People find joy and they walk their way out of the worst instances of anxiety, depression, drug abuse, PTSD, things like that, that really helps a lot of people. So for that to be taken away from people and in the I think in the I'm trying to word this in the hopes of fostering stateside manufacturing, there's going to have to be, and see, this is the thing. This is what is frustrating, is that while there are a handful of companies, that's about all we have right now is a handful of companies. If we went cold turkey within a couple days, as ChatGPT is saying, if we went cold turkey in a couple days, could we make it work? We could, but we're going to have about 99% less options overnight. Now think about that. 99%. What if you went to buy a phone and you waited a couple days and then all of a sudden you only had 1% of the options that you had to buy a phone and you needed a new phone? 1%. So it's going back to the 1%. And one of the problems of this is that majority of the money and the funding right now is going toward private companies, and it's not specifically going to hobby FPV drone companies. So, I mean, the big need is definitely toward the private sector. We need that, but we also need the hobby sector. We need the hobby sector to be able to, keep the momentum going for the private sector. Because without the hobby sector, you don't have, I mean, that's where a lot of things start. This is the baseline of the whole infrastructure, is the hobby side of things in aviation. And that's all I have to say about that today. So that is some insights and industry insider info for keeping and waving the flag of FPV. And who knows, if I'm the last man standing, so be it. I'll be the last man on YouTube flying an FPV drone. But I have a feeling I won't be, because I know there's a very good support and community out there for FPV drones. It's gonna keep going. We're gonna keep rolling. So I appreciate all you guys watching today and getting some insights on those. I've enjoyed talking with you guys today. It's been a lot of fun, and been over some funny topics and the Russia thing, and it's just crazy out there right now. It seems like one day to the next. Am I right? Like, you wake up the next day and like, oh wow, this is even crazier day than yesterday and 2 days prior, which I thought was the craziest day of my life. And so I look forward to tomorrow. It's going to get embrace the chaos and ride the wave, paddle in, take the drop, and make sure you turn whichever direction that the wave's breaking behind you, because when it's coming after you, it's going to come fast. So make the drop, turn hard, and keep riding. You guys will be just fine. We're going to make it happen. Even if we have to strap some cameras to the front of this thing. Hey, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? I need to find an 04 to stick on that one. But yeah, we'll be fine. But I appreciate you guys for subscribing. Please click like on this video, for God's sake. If you're sitting here listening to this like a podcast, that's kind of like the format of this one. You can just put this on and have some laughs and learn a few things along the way. During these live streams, we always have interesting topics that we cover, and try to keep you up to date with current events and reviews and news, and just you get to see all the new cool stuff coming out all the time. But hell yeah, I love this hobby, and I love you guys too. And I will see you on the next one. Be strong, my guys. Take care. See you soon.